Hello everyone, I am the Lore Explorer, and this is the Outer Wilds. Today, we are going to take a look at Brittles Hollow, one of the most confusing planets in the game. How can a black hole form at the center of a planet? And how has the surface held up for this long? Looking at the planet for the first time, there is an obvious explanation for what we see. Brittles was a normal planet, but a black hole formed at its core, and it's been slowly eating the planet from the inside out as it grows. But I don't think that's what happened here. We actually get a look at a few hollow planets elsewhere in the game. Looking at the end slide from 14.3 billion years later, we see many hollow planets, and one even looks like Brittle. But at their centers aren't black holes, they are bright objects, and they look like small suns. This is what I think Brittles Hollow originally looked like. Not all suns go supernova before collapsing down into a black hole. Some suns skip the supernova state and they collapse straight down into one. But if Brittles has always been hollow, how did it hold up to bombardment from Hollow's lantern for so long? We can even see the Nomai had trouble with this over 200,000 years ago. Even after they built their temporary city, the Nomai were worried about the stability of their location. They were told not to wander too far away and to watch out for falling rocks even where they were living. Yet, when we first visit, the entire surface integrity is at 100%. I think the key word here is surface. Really thinking about it, the thing we see is the surface of Brittle Hollow is basically a moon orbiting around the black hole down below. The black hole below expels everything that enters it through the connected white hole. This means it would never grow to slowly eat away at the surface surrounding it. The only reason Brittle's crust ever gets eaten by the black hole is Hollow's lantern. The constant source of projectiles being shot into space have to go somewhere. The gravity of Brittle Hollows sucks them in, the result being endless bombardments in which the surface takes impacts. If this has been happening for millennium, why is it only a serious problem now? If we visit Brittles Hollow's quantum moon, we see rock formations sort of floating above the surface. But remember, the whole surface is sort of floating around the black hole, so this is not too strange. Now, it is a bit of a stretch, but what if these rock structures were all over the surface of Brittle Hollows at one time in its history, acting as a protective layer for the surface below, as projectiles constantly bombard down from Hollow's lantern above? If this was the case, when we arrived, it would have already been long enough for this protective layer to have broken down, and the surface is starting to take the impact of these bombardments. Or it's had enough time to break through enough of the surface, making it thinner and thinner each time it's been hit, until eventually it's thin enough to just snap off. Another thing I can explain is how the hanging city is so stable. Being built under the north pole of Brittles Hollow, the surface here rarely ever gets hit. See, the planet and its moon are both already moving through space. Hollow's lantern is orbiting around Brittles' equator. As Hollow's lantern shoots out objects, it should only slowly move towards Brittle. Some do shoot out quicker, but it's not that big of a difference. The gravity of Brittles takes hold and slowly starts speeding up the projectiles. Gravity always pulls you down straight to its center. Since Hollow's lantern is on the equator, it's tough for the projectiles to get shot at a high enough velocity for it to get far enough away from the equator to hit the pole. To sum up what's going on here, the black hole below was once a sun. Brittles Hollow looked exactly like one of the planets in the 14.3 billion years later slide. But at one point, the sun at the center collapsed directly into a black hole. When this happened, the surface wouldn't even have noticed the difference. I can't for sure explain why we only see the surface integrity fall when we get there, but if it's not for the reasons I've mentioned before, I'm happy to chalk it up to video game reasons. Without this damned moon, Brittles Hollow would actually be quite a peaceful place. Instead, near the end of the cycle, we see only fragments left, still floating along in their orbit around the black hole below, as if nothing has happened, still giving us a place to stand comfortably and watch the supernova hit a black hole, most likely causing it to burp out some radiation after. But those are my thoughts on Brittles Hollow. For now, this is the Lore Explorer, diving deep into the game so you don't have to.